Hello, everyone. Today is Wednesday, February 18th, and we are hosting on our platform, Crossroads News, with Arkady and Tatiana. We host a very special guest, distinctive guest, State District Court Judge, Mecklenburg County, Greater Charlotte area, State North Carolina, Cecilia Oseguera. Hello, Your Honor.
Yeah,
Good
welcome.
morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Crossroad Dudes.
Crossroad Dudes are happy to host you. And we would like to introduce you to our listeners, to our audience. And please tell us a little bit about yourself. We just know that you were born in Los Angeles in a family of two immigrants from Mexico that immigrated to LA about 1950s,
The
and
50s.
you became a judge. Could you please let us know a little bit about how did that happen and where you are right now?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I'm Judge Cecilia Oseguera, and I'm a district court judge in Mecklenburg County, North Carolina. And I'm very happy to be here. And thank you for my two hosts for having me. I was born in Los Angeles, and my parents are immigrants. They immigrated from Mexico in the 1950s. My father just turned 90 years old in January, and my mother's 86, and they still live in the same home I was raised in. They taught us important values growing up. They didn't have formal education, but taught us important values regarding ethics, being honest, truthful, and a very good work ethic. There were seven of us growing up. All of us went to college. Majority of us have postgraduate degrees, and my parents still live in that same home. So when I was younger, I don't want to only speak about myself because I know the viewers are very interested in the legal aspect of right now what's going on. But I did attend UCLA in Los Angeles. I went to law school also in Southern California at Whittier College School of Law, and I also have a legal master's in corporate compliance from Seton Hall as well. I moved to North Carolina in 2005. I work as an assistant federal public defender. I have a substantial federal court litigation experience, and that is where I met one of our hosts, Tatiana.
Yeah,
We
At
work together on a very long and interesting case. We should actually write, a scenario for the Netflix about that one.
I cannot speak about my former clients or my cases, but it was a pleasure working with you, Tatiana. And we've remained
Likewise.
friends more than maybe 15 years now, 10, 15 years at
Uh,
least.
10 years. That's
10
correct.
years.
No, more
10
than that, actually. Yeah, more than that. Time flies.
more than 10 years, I believe. And so now I ran for district court judge here in Mecklenburg County. I was first appointed by the governor in 2022. I later was elected by the people here in Mecklenburg County to serve a 4-year term. I am in the middle of a primary. I do have an opponent and for seat 18 right now. So I am running again to continue serving Mecklenburg County. I have substantial experience. I was a litigator for 20 years, and now, as I indicated previously, a judge for almost 4 years now. And I am the only candidate with substantial prior federal and state courtroom experience. And what I handle, and then I'll answer some more questions. I handle a lot of courtrooms. I can do family court, juvenile court, civil court, criminal courts, as well as the domestic violence courts. And I'm anywhere, wherever the chief judge asks me to go, I will be there. But for the most part, in the last couple of years, I've been in the criminal courts or domestic violence courts.
Wow, that is impressive. That is
yeah,
impressive.
it's interesting.
So right now, you said that you ran for the election to be re-elected, and you have an opponent. Could you please tell us a little bit about this opponent? It's very interesting. We talked about it a little bit previously with you, but yesterday I have a group chat with my friends. Most of them are, of course, from former Soviet Union. We just have a friendly chat. And one of them, my friend, he is always on top of very important issues, including North Carolina. And somehow the circumstances were that he is writing to all of us about, he's sending this sample ballot for a Democratic Party. And in that sample ballot, the red circle, like vote for, is on some kind of person, Habakkuk, and not you. So he sends to our group that ballot, and coincidentally, we have a conversation today. And he is writing to all of us that this is crazy who this person is. And I'm talking in a civil language, not jurisdictional language. But can you please enlighten our listeners, who is this Rebecca and how did that happen? That person of such radical views is allowed to run.
Well, what I do want to focus on is also, and I did touch on my experience. I do have significant judicial experience as well as formal experience in the courtroom. I I do believe public service takes many forms, and I do respect the role of advocates or activists in a community. However, being a judge is not. It's not activism. It's not ideology. It's not about an abolitionist legal philosophy. And they have their place in certain arenas, but the role of a judge is fundamentally different than that. The judge has to apply the law fairly,
Of course.
impartially, and judges have to follow established rules of evidence and procedure and ensure that everyone is treated fairly that comes before the court. And that includes defendants, it includes non defendants, it also includes victims, families, and the community at large. Uh, and it's very important that judges do not approach the bench with an activist mission or an agenda. It's
Agenda.
absolutely important. It requires neutrality, stability, and commitment to the rule of law. Judges and attorneys have taken oaths to follow the Constitution of the United States as well the Constitution of North Carolina. All judges have, and all attorneys have done that. And it's my duty to uphold the rules and the statutes of North Carolina, regardless of my personal opinion on what the legislature does, my personal opinion on policy. My job is not to provide an opinion on that, but to rule according to the law.
Well, this is how it's supposed to be, of course. So, why is it important to pay attention at the opponent's platform, as you have mentioned that there is no room for activists? Is she an activist?
I can't comment on my opponent. My opponent has made public statements that are available for the public and for the voting public to review. So I won't comment on specific statements. But what I will comment on is myself. I am transparent. I've been open and transparent in court for 18, 20 years as I practice as a assistant federal public defender. My role there was an advocate. And that is a role. Attorneys appear on behalf of a plaintiff or a defendant or a corporation, and that's an attorney's job. However, once the individual takes the role of a judge, the judge must ensure fairness in all the cases. Systemic reform is not the judge's duty. The legislature, the policymakers, and advocates do that. If someone believes, for example, a judge, that the entire system is fundamentally illegitimate, it will then become difficult to apply the law impartially. My job is to ensure that every person's treated fairly and within the framework of the law.
Hmm.
I didn't hear that. Tatiana, I didn't hear that.
Right.
Oh,
I just thank you for making those comments, Your Honor. I just opened the website for the spot fund for Miss Rebecca, and her last name is Cannon. And she's the one that runs against you, and primaries are in 3 weeks, just about. And she is calling herself an abolitionist, the first abolitionist. So, and the pictures here are saying stop arresting people and jails, kill, abolish jails. Is there any possibility for such system to survive?
Well, as I stated previously, if someone believes that the system is fundamentally wrong or illegitimate, it's very challenging to apply the law properly. And as judges, and this myself, I've taken an oath to uphold the law. I took that oath in public, and I do that every day. I practice in the district court in Mecklenburg County. I'm in court weekly. I have to appear back in court right now at 1:30. My record is very transparent. I welcome people into my courtroom. I welcome people to discuss my rulings, how I perform on the bench, and people know and understand that I've always respected the rule of law and I've interpreted it properly. I've applied the facts to the case, and my rulings and my results are based on the system that is created. I do not view the system as fundamentally illegitimate. The Again, I respect the role of advocates. There's a need for that. But that is for advocates, policymakers, and the legislature. And I'm none of those on the bench because I serve everyone regardless of political party, ideology. My job is to interpret that law properly. Not everyone is going to walk out of the courtroom happy. There may be a side that does not appreciate the ruling. However, that person will know that once they left my courtroom, that I listened, I heard, treated them fairly. Looked at the law. I have a firm understanding of the law, North Carolina statutes, federal statutes, North Carolina rules, federal rules, the rules of criminal procedure, the rules of civil procedure. And when I make that ruling, it is because I followed what ethically am required to do. And that's not hard for me because that's the oath I took.
Oh, absolutely. The oath you took. So when I'm looking at the platform of the opponent, so if the opponent, let's say the worst case scenario, will win, what may be her approach according to her platform? Is there fair to make any projections?
I can't comment or I can't speculate. What I can say is there is publicly available information. Again,
I
it,
can
it
see that. I can see
I,
that she's been arrested. Yes.
And I can't, Tatiana, comment on personnel matters, but I will say that judges must keep activism and judging completely separate. And public confidence absolutely requires that the judges aren't guided by personal movements that are based on philosophies.
Well, that is cannot be said any better, right? Um, Speaking of crime situation in Charlotte, is there anything that you can comment from in the light of what happened to Irina Zarutsky? I'm sure that our community in Charlotte, and not just in Charlotte, in the United States in general and in the world, was shocked by what happened, how it happened, and why it happened. And with that said, there is a new law that North Carolina legislature passed, and you, being a judge, you apply this law quite often on your bench. Could you please comment a little bit on that law and how you apply it?
Yes, first, my condolences are to the victim, her family, her friends. This was a tragedy, a tragedy
Absolutely.
that occurred. So my condolences are to her family, friends, and how this has affected and impacted individuals. The courts have to respect defendants' constitutional rights. And Tatiana, I was an assistant federal public defender for nearly 20 years. So I understand how important it is to respect defendants' constitutional rights. However, I also understand that victims have rights as well, and victims must be heard. And part of a bail or pretrial release is to balance or factor defendants' constitutional rights with victims' rights and safety to not only a victim or a prosecuting witness, but to the community as a whole. So that being said, um, Irena's law makes changes to pretrial release. I want to just let everyone know out there. This
Sure.
court's not an expert. I'm not an expert in Irena's law. It became in effect December 1st of 2025. But here's where what we were just speaking of earlier is very important with respect to policy legislation. The judges cannot comment on a personal opinion with respect to legislation or policy. My job is to do what the legislature has required me to do with respect to Irena's law. And that's why every day when I'm in criminal court, sometimes we have 100, 200 individuals appearing in that first appearance court. My job is to make sure that I am following the directives of the legislature and following Irena's law. And that being said, I am in the district courts, the judges who appear in there, we are taking classes, speaking about it consistently, making sure we are in this court. I am trying to apply that law properly in my courts. So, just briefly, and again, I'm not an expert for everybody that's watching here today. Irena's law is very important because it does make changes to pretrial release. It creates a new category of what are called violent offenses. Those violent offenses are defined by the statute. Generally, it's certain in North Carolina statutes, Class A through G felonies that are included. And again, this is very in general. I'm not an expert, but I'm providing what I do every day in state court when I have first appearances. What it does, it's changed the offense category and certain types or conditions of release or bail. Judges must review what a criminal history report. In state court, we have a pretrial services report. I've always done that. I've done that before Irena's law because I have extensive experience in federal and state court, and routinely the federal judges also would consider criminal history and a pretrial services report. And I'll get into the factors that this court or I consider prior to granting release. So the court has to evaluate the criminal history, and the law or the district attorneys or pretrial will provide that record. So once I review that record, let me back up. It eliminates any type of written promise to appear. There usually is a statutory preference for unsecured bond or some type of custody release, but it's not available with certain types of offenses. And there's also, I'm not an expert, certain types of misdemeanors that if people have certain types of misdemeanors on their record. What I do is I have to look at the charge, determine whether or not Irena's law applies. And if it applies, and this is in consultation with the district attorney as well as pretrial. So if anyone ever appears in my court, you will hear me speaking to the district attorney and pretrial service. I need a pretrial services report. I need to know what the record is. And I do that for all defendants that appear in front of me. It could be a lesser charge, but I want to be aware of what someone has either been charged with or convicted. I understand these are all allegations. I routinely tell defendants they're allegations, but my job is to inform them of the charges, and then I will set conditions of release. So in certain offenses, there is a presumption, a rebuttable presumption that the court has to hold an individual in custody. If the court determines that it's going to release somebody on a bond, it has to make written findings. And this is where it's very important that the judges understand what is occurring in criminal matters. And what I consider and what's required is the court has to know what the nature and circumstances are, the allegations. Remember, a defendant's innocent. The court on the bond, I'm informing defendants of the charge. But I have to know what the allegations are, the nature and circumstances of the offense. The defendant's, here's what's very important, the defendant's criminal record of convictions or pending matters, whether or not the defendant is what's considered a flight risk or their return to court, danger to the prosecuting witness or the victim, and danger to the community in general. And so I evaluate all those factors. I utilize the pretrial services report, which will include a criminal record. And then I will also speak to the attorneys, district attorney's office, as well as a representative. That there is a representative from the public defender's office there as well. And then I will determine bond. But this court has to, and it routinely does, take the victim's safety into consideration or the prosecuting witness, as well as danger to the community or the public at large. Let me stop there, so you might have questions for me.
Thank you very much for explaining that it is a confusing matter. Arkadia, you have a question?
Yeah. Your Honor, I would like to return to judicial political activity. Unfortunately, sometimes it seems that some judges are blocking any initiative of the administration, regardless of its benefits to the country. My question, what do you think? It makes sense to free judges from party affiliation, so the judges are guided solely by the law?
Well, judges, as I mentioned previously, judges should only be guided by the law, not by party affiliation. And the legislature here, and I can speak for myself, I can't speak for other judges. As I indicated previously, the legislature requires me or other judges to put a Democrat, a D, or an R by our names, and to run as a Democrat or Republican or an independent. But once the individual becomes a judge, once the individual takes the oath of office to become a judge, there should be no mention of party affiliation after that, because a judge, regardless or irrespective of political party, has taken an oath to apply the law impartially and fairly, regardless of party affiliation.
I am very glad to hear this.
Yeah, sometimes we wonder. Sometimes we wonder if judges today
Yeah.
do apply their political views and accordingly make the system politicized instead of being neutrally legal. Um, Regarding the Irina's law and what you have shared with us, what the law implicates too. Um, the case itself for Irina Zarutsky's murder, the individual Brown, he was released several times before the tragedy happened. What would have been different today if things like if Irina's law would have been in place today at the time when he was just about, let's say, to commit a crime? Would he be there in that light rail, or he would have been somewhere else?
Yeah, I can't speculate. Again, my condolences are with the victim and victims of crime. I can't speculate as to what could have occurred. I know the legislature has acted and has Irina's law. There's more to it than just, and I don't want to use that word minimally, lightly. Um, Pretrial release. There's also the new law applies to involuntary commitment procedures. Also, that has not taken effect. That'll take effect later this year. Again, I'm not an expert on that, but it addresses individuals with mental health that have mental health issues. So, Tatiana, I, I wish I had the answer to for what you have. That should not have happened. It was unfortunate. We've all seen that. Uh, I can't comment on a pending case. Judges can't do that, regardless if you're a state or federal court judge. But what I can let the viewers know is that the law is in place, and it is designed to assist judges in making these determinations, and not just judges, but other stakeholders as well, especially with respect to individuals who have mental health uh, matters. But what I can tell your viewers is that I will apply this law to the best of my ability, and I'm continuously learning and reading the statute and reading the law and applying it.
Well, thank you so very much for sharing with us your views on the situation and Irina's law. The last question I have: what can you say about the criminal situation in Charlotte? You've been here for 20 years. Is there anything that you can comment on in terms of, did it get better? Did it get worse? Does it fluctuate? What's going on in our city?
I can't. That may be a question for maybe the district attorney or the public defender. I don't have the crime statistics, um, and I know the viewers keep hearing me say, and I sound very repetitive, but I don't have the statistics. I'm not here to interpret the statistics. What I am here to do is to follow these rules and
Sure.
to look at the cases independently, and to make my decision follow what the law is and what the facts of each case are. All the cases are different. So that's what my job is to do, is to evaluate the matter that's in front of me, the individual, and I'll say that is to, we'll discuss defendants in this case, because we are speaking about Irena's law and criminal matters. Uh, but to evaluate each of those cases, treat that individual fairly as well with respect to the defendants, hear what are the allegations, or what I call the nature and circumstances of the offense, keeping a defendant's constitutional rights and protections in order, and but also balancing that safety to the community, and then utilizing the law. And the law will I will follow it, and then I will balance that properly, and then I will set I will set the terms of bond, or I won't set a bond in certain cases.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you very
We are
much.
very much grateful for your time and for you coming here to us and sharing with our viewers your views, your platform. And we are also we also would like to say that primaries only allow to vote for the one candidate that the voter is affiliated with. So Republicans cannot vote for the Democratic candidate, but only independents and Democrats. But still, we are asking our viewers, please learn the platforms before you vote and see how it applies to your view on judicial system, on what the justice is, or would you like to be the one that will live under the system that will be systematically changed with abolishing jails or something of that order? Or you would like to live in a society and appear in front of the judge that, or someone who committed the crime, appear in front of the judge that will apply the law, or will only talk about big mojos?
Yes, and I did want to add also, my courtroom's open. I have been endorsed by different organizations, including the Fraternal Order of the Police, um, and and I say that only because I'm not an advocate and pro one entity against another entity, for against an entity and for one. But what that shows, not just the endorsement from the Fraternal Order of the Police, but the other organizations that have endorsed me, is that those organizations actually took the time to interview the candidate. They've also have viewed me in the courtroom. Um, this also includes very prominent criminal defense attorneys. Uh, what that shows, this broad range of courtroom stakeholders, is that they've observed my work firsthand, and they understand that I don't advocate for certain causes, but I consider the cases fairly and neutrally, and I'm applying the law properly. And that means that public safety and equal justice, they're not competing values. So those organizations have viewed my work firsthand, and they understand I'm not always going to rule in one party's favor or one organization's failure, but they've trusted me, and they've viewed me firsthand to know that I have applied the rules properly and fairly, and I'm not biased toward one organization or one entity or one party over the other. And that's going back to whether you have a Democrat or Republican by your name, or if you're an advocate. That serves no place in the judiciary. Democrat, advocate, Republican, what your party is, but how the people view you, how the people that appear in front of you, law enforcement, defense attorneys, the prosecutors, advocates, families, all the attorneys, the private bar, how they view you and how you apply the law. And that's why I have received those endorsements because all the stakeholders, not just one group that wants to advance an ideology or their platform, a diverse amount of groups have endorsed me and people, and I value the trust that the people and the organizations have, and I'll continue, regardless of the endorsements I have, to always follow the law, and that is why I've received.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you. Very clear.
very
Very.
thank you for such a clear message, and we wish you luck. We need law working in our state and everywhere else. It shouldn't be any exceptions to
Yes,
that.
and people need to go out and vote in the primaries. I don't think a lot of people realize that the primaries will determine who is the judge for the next 4 years, because there is not a Republican in the
On the ballot.
general election. So it's very important that people know that March 3rd is a very important day to vote. Independents, Democrats, and Republicans also can uh, discuss it with people who are voting.
Mhm.
So I thank you all for your time. So I appreciate that. And let me know if you have any follow up questions, or any of the viewers have follow up questions for me. I'm happy to appear again if anyone has questions for me.
Certainly, we will
Thank you.
absolutely do that. We will have lots of comments for sure. We will apply the Russian subtitles, and it will be possible, and we will have some running lines with your information. Thank you so very much,
Thank you.
Cecilia, and we'll see you again. Wishing you good luck.
Yeah.
All
I
right. Thank
have
you.
already questions. That's why for next time.
And I'm happy to appear again.
Thank you
Thank
Thank
so
you.
you.
much. We'll be happy
Thank
to welcome you again. Thank you.
Have a good afternoon.